If you thought my last video on Raheem was bad, well, let's cover a new story that will enrage you even further than my last video. In the gaming realm, there's a thing called professional esports. This is where people play video games professionally for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Esports is competitive video gaming. It is a very, very big thing, brings in millions and millions of dollars. But one professional esports player who goes by the name of Ninja Boogie, who goes by Michael Ross, he plays Dota 2 Defense of the Ancients, tweeted this out on Twitter on May 20th. I was kicked because my mom on her last days, and they assumed it would affect my performance. I already knew for some time that this day would come since she had 4-stage cancer. She passed away on Monday. Imagine being fired from a job because you're about to lose a loved one. Team SMG official said, announcement on our Dota 2 squad. We would like to thank Ninja Boogie for his enthusiasm, his hard work, and dedication for Team SMG during our time together. Today we part ways. Thank you, Ninja Boogie. Keep boogieing even under gunfire. He replies to this post, how about you tell them the real reason that you kicked me off your esports team? Furthermore, he actually messaged the team involved explaining that, hey, this is not going to affect my performance. She had stage cancer. He explains that she had a stroke, and he makes it very clear that he wants to play professionally regardless of outcome, and it's not going to affect his performance on the team. He's still going to show up, do his boot camp, which is essentially preparing and practicing for an upcoming tournament. At the very end, he just says, I just need to settle for a few things before her hopeful discharge, and I will be good to join you all in the boot camp. I hope my decision is to your liking. And this was before she even passed away. So she hadn't even passed away yet, but she was in the hospital. He was out dealing with family matters first. He said he was going to still be on time. He was going to be a little bit late, but he's still going to arrive on the day of boot camp, which is perfectly reasonable. You know, I think this is really cordial. There are two types of people, and this guy did the right thing. He said, hey, I'm going to be a little bit late showing up on arrival. I'm still going to show up. I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time I'm going to be late. Or he could have been that type of special asshole who, number one, never tells you that they're going to be late, or two, just doesn't show up and is not consistent. Which one would you personally prefer? Would you prefer somebody calling you, texting you, say, hey, I'm going to be late, or somebody just not showing up? He did his due diligence by telling the team, hey, I'm not going to show up on the exact time. I'm going to be a little bit late that evening, that day, and they still fired him. They kicked him off the esports team because his mother was in the hospital. I did take a brief look into the esports team. I've never heard of this team before, but if I can say one thing, fuck this goddamn SMG esports team. This is not only extremely unprofessional, completely unwarranted, but how does anyone justify this? You know, it reminds me of my own personal experience where I applied for financial aid a couple years back when I was taking some college classes because I qualified for it, and I definitely want to have financial aid if I qualify for it. And they actually denied me initially because I didn't take the original 15 credits for financial aid, because I guess for whatever reason I have to take all 15 credits. And I'm like, why was I denied? And they're like, well, you need to take all 15 credits. And I'm like, well, here's the situation. My dad had a stroke. My dad's going through cancer treatment right now, and about 2 to 3 weeks during the week, I drive up to the Seattle hospital, and I'm there with my mom and my dad helping them during this shit. And it's very time consuming. It's very mentally draining having to be in a hospital around cancer patients and going through chemo, and your dad is on life support, was on life support almost at one point. It's really scary shit. And I had to write a whole declaration letter to my college to appeal the process of financial aid. And then another incident I had is I was in college and I was taking a communications class, and the teacher was really good, but she downgraded me almost a full 1.0 grade GPA because I didn't show up on. She had these really strict rules in her classes where you can't skip a day of class. You always have, they basically grade attendance, which is fine. I had perfect attendance. But that same week, my dad had his stroke, not his cancer. I sent her an email and said, like, I'm not coming in today because my dad had a stroke. I took him to the hospital the first time he had his stroke, and the teacher didn't give a shit. And even though I brought a doctor's note specifically saying, hey, I was not able to come to class and I have a really valid reason not to come to class, she still docked me points. an asshole fucking professor. Fuck her. Fuck this gaming professional, this gaming team. I just don't understand how anyone can honestly have this much lack of sympathy and empathy towards people going through family experiences, much less making their lives even more difficult by firing them because something is outside their control with family. If there's one thing that I will always defend, is when your family is hurt and your family needs support, you are there for them. And if a job kicks you out or fires you because you need to be there for your family, fuck that job, fuck those people, and fucking make a lawsuit, for God's sake. That's what needs to happen. You just can't fire somebody because of a family incident that they said, oh, I'm going to be late for a little bit, but no, fuck the player because it's still going to affect your performance. No, it's not. If somebody's already preparing for the loss of a family member and they know it's coming and they're able to still function in a normal society and not have a constant breakdown, this guy seems pretty damn strong, if you ask me. The fact that he was still attending and doing all this practicing and showing up on time the same day of the event, and yet they still fire him because of that, that's beyond fucked. That's rage-inducing. Anyone from Team SMG needs to goddamn leave. Their slogan is still moving under gunfire. So let me ask about your slogans, considering it's, still moving under gunfire. If somebody's under gunfire and they get shot or hurt, do you just ignore them in video games? Do you just ignore them in real life when you're in the military? Because typically when somebody's under gunfire, when somebody's having a medical issue that's really serious, you typically don't leave the person behind or kick them out of your team when they're under gunfire. The whole point is to be a support system for your teammates, support system for your goddamn professional esports player. Something that I am curious about, though, is if he was actually paid at all for being in this group. Because if you were being paid and they terminated you for, your family member, I think that would be a valid lawsuit personally. But looking into this organization, it doesn't seem to be very big, doesn't seem to be super reputable because I've never heard of it. Who's ever managing your PR, your team, eradicate them, get rid of them. Do not support this esports organization because they don't care about the players and they have no common decency. So that's all I got to say on that. His Twitter is linked down below if you want to follow him. I definitely recommend showing him some love and support because this is just completely an injustice done to him and his job, and nobody should be treated like this when somebody is there for their family.